Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today I'll be reviewing some more music from Winchester 7 and the Runners off of their album titled Heart of the Golden Mystics. These are tracks 5 to 7 today, and if we switch over to here we have the album on Spotify here. We're going through Miss Mary's Memoriam, Your House of Cards, and Things Would Never Be the Same. So you're going to listen through these tracks from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go, starting with Miss Mary's Memoriam. Bit of a tongue twister that one, for sure, man. And I love the clarity of the guitar tone with the bass and the drums. Fantastic reintroduction.
Oh, now sweet Jane, she said, Miss Mary's got it in for us. The way she called our names, the way she swore, the way she cussed. As we played our games, she always made such a fuss till we'd run away, returning ever mischievous.
Okay, so Miss Mary's Memoriam, I'm assuming this is about a person, and maybe this woman was like not having any of their shenanigans and she'd come down on them, and maybe they'd just kind of try to rile her up just for fun.
We dreamed of fortune and fame.
Oh, so this is when they were young, right?
Lives that were so fabulous.
I like the talk of the dreams and hopes and ambitions that they have alongside the bum 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 bum. They're really kind of simple bass line there with the floating overdriven guitar chords and a really supported drum beat. Some shakers in the background, some 70s elements here for sure. Interesting guitar effects. Nice use of slapback delay as well. I do enjoy it. There's a bit more of a presence and interesting tone to the vocals. I love how punchy things are, again with that kick coming in there without it being too repugnantly over-processed on the studio side. It's raw, but it's still got punch to it, it's got power to it. Hey, solo section, great fun, thank you. I do appreciate when there's an instrumental break in there. If there's a story that's told, allow there to be a bit of space to reflect on it.
In those early days, we dreamed of fortune and fame. Parties that raged, lives that were so fabulous. Friends who knew our names, love that was so amorous. In those early days, the future was before us, and we saw glasses raised.
I like the distinct chord progressions and bass lines we have for each of the verse and chorus lines. It's nice and easy to follow.
Lyrical, how the roses bloomed long ago.
Little adjustment in how the guitars float alongside the stereo fill. I like that, it's great as well.
We dreamed of
A bit more development on the lead line on the far left to try not to interfere with the guitar line, the vocal line to the center.
lives that were so fabulous. Fans who
And the occasional overdubs or backing vocals at the end of each line of the chorus are a nice little bit of extra bit of as well there. Great.
days, the future was before us. In those early days, when the future lay before us.
Oh, really charming, cheery little outro here. Some fluctuating guitar lines here, dancing around the high mid resonance. Oh, and a really pretty way to end it. Nice balancing and EQing of those guitars as well, because there is some sharpness in some of those tones there that could potentially be a little bit too much, but they managed to nail it again on the studio side. But that was great, you know, track 5, Miss Mary's Memoriam. We've got Your House of Cards now, track number 6. Well, that's a sizzling low end, man. Ooh. more oomph to it, a bit more spice to it. And I'm sorry, is that an organ in there as well that's nice and subtle, but providing a nice freshness in that mid-range? Great choice. I love how tight the band is, because when everyone stops, it's just boom, everyone comes in together. There's a great chemistry between the members. A little bit of unpredictability with that line at the end there harmonically, but that's fine. Yeah, nice way to spice it up with the lead line. A bit of dissonance, discordance there, but that's fine. Very chirpy. I like this extended instrumental part actually. It's nice to feel secure like that as a band. I am understanding the words less clearly than I did in the previous track, which is a shame, but my understanding of the song at this point, but no longer in your debt. Their song has been quite manipulative, and they've been trying to suck them into their world, but they managed to finally escape. It's finally slipped and it's forever gone, so basically the House of Cards has never been rebuilt. I like the sludginess of those guitar riffs there. That's kind of very feisty. They kind of rub up against each other in a way that would typically be wrong. But because you've got this kind of classic rock kind of feel to it, it kind of works, you know, and I kind of enjoy that. It's meant to be that sort of raw, viscous tone to it. It's not supposed to be too clean. That iteration of it going down. Nice way to finish out again with the really subtle organ in the background, as well as the guitar with that vibrato and the feedback. It's fantastic. You know, I understood this track a little bit less well than the previous one. I think just because maybe we were not. It was a slightly different vocal style or something like that. But it's okay. It's okay, man. Sometimes a little bit of vocal fry can make it, even if you don't particularly get everything. So that's okay though. We've got House of Cards for that one. I think we understand what that's about. And finally, Things Would Never Be the Same. Yeah, we're really sticking to those sizzly tones. Nice panning of the different instruments though. It's nice and wide in the stereo field in the mix. There ain't fixing it now, things will never be the same. Okay, alright. I like the solidity of those drum grooves, that hi-hat focus there with the kicks and snares driving forward with the crispiness. Again, I've probably used that word a few times today of those rhythm guitarists. Those, have they got some open chords or some bar chords that they're doing? Oh, that's a fun synth. Good choice there. We had two halves of that chorus and they had 5 bars each. And when you add or subtract a bar like that, it can make the listener go, hey, this isn't what I'm used to. I'm used to having four bars of 4, right? It's not as effective if you take away a beat, but if you take away or add a bar, sometimes it can make the listener think and question what's going on. And it's kind of what you want. You want the listener to be actively listening as opposed to passively just absorbing it. Because that means they got their full attention. I mean, it's just really pleasant and ambient. You know, there's a lovely resonance to it. There's a clear passion for what they're doing when you listen to it. The fact that they recorded this with acoustic instruments in like a studio together is fantastic as well. It's just a really professional sounding album. It's very authentic to the genre. And usually I'm really pedantic and anal about my guitar tones, but I think they've smashed it out of the park with this one. I think this is a very, like that kind of fizziness is not something you can pull off on every genre, but on this kind of music you can. They shattered my reality and I'm still breaking down. I'm gonna have a listen back to that verse too, because I feel like I missed some context here. There's a twist to the tale I want to make sure I understand. Okay, so I think after listening through that second verse, I assume that the finding the letters and things never being the same is realizing, because there was also a line about a policeman saying there's nothing they can do. So I assume that there's a part I'm missing here, but that they didn't trust the police had done a thorough job and they found the letters eventually and they realized the secret all along or something like that. Okay, we're finishing like that. Excellent. I think we were rolling with a parallel minor in this part, if I'm not mistaken, for that first chord. Very unsettling, but a really cool vibe nonetheless. Great. No, that's awesome. That's fantastic. because this is the conclusion of my review of tracks 5 to 7 from Winchester 7 and the Runners album Heart of the Golden Mystics. What do I feel about these 3 tracks and the album in general? I mean, I think that these tracks, again, were about Miss Mary's memoriam, whether it was like metaphorical. Well, no, I think it was that looking back in time and looking back at the interactions you have with people, and then when you get together and sort of like, you know, meet for a memorial or a funeral, you look back at the rest of your life and where it's all gone. I think that's what the track was about. It was either nostalgia or looking back at those memories of youth. Your House of Cards, I think, is about being manipulated by someone and then eventually going away and things just disapparating, never being able to be rebuilt. Things would never be the same, I think, again, is about, like, I think it's literally about like a crime or something occurring there, and then the police saying they can't do anything but looking for those clues anyways, trying to still see what you can do to make things work and make things happen. And I think eventually, yeah, you have that situation there where those things occur. It's a beautiful thing, really. I think that even though these are some dark topics that we're discussing here, Winchester and the Runners discuss them very eloquently, and there's no point at which I think, hey, you know, we shouldn't have done it like that, that was a terrible decision, etc. I think that whenever we have come across these subjects within Winchester and the Runners songs, they have this wonderful way of getting the music behind it, the theme behind it, the accompaniment, to balance out the intensity with like soothing, kind of perky, chirpy kind of rock riffs that maybe have a little bit of melancholy or bittersweet and that tenacity to them, but nonetheless kind of provide a sense of equilibrium for those sorts. I think it's really important within this kind of classic rock style of music. The music that I heard from them, from the stories to the vocals were fantastic. You know, we had some interesting effects on the vocals, like the slapback delay and everything like that. Maybe a little bit of modulation, a little bit of chorus, or like phasing or something like that. I wasn't always able to understand the words clearly, I think partially because of the effects on the vocals, but aside from that, the ones I did hear, the storytelling was great. The guys, again, as I said in the first review, the first video that I did on this album, he's got a great sort of control of his head and chest voice. Sounds like he really cares about what he's singing about, very authentic and organic. Again, the pronunciation of words was clear for the most part. It was just Your House of Cards. It was just a bit tricky to hear some parts in the first and second verses. Had to sort of do a double take. It could just be that like maybe like an accent thing or something like that, but then I heard the words clearly in Miss Mary's memoriam, so it's absolutely fine. I think that the delivery of the vocals made sense from an emotional sort of intensity perspective, and yeah, so basically the vocals were great. The themes behind them with the combination of those guitars, the bass, and the drums there were charming, you know. You know, you had this kind of 70s kind of retro kind of aesthetic with the crispiness of those guitar tones there, the slight sort of sizzle to the overdrive distortion there, those open and just, you know, open and bar chords played alongside it with some really kind of sort of sneaky little lead lines occasionally on the sides or in the center with those instrumental parts. You know, it was very sassy, and I think that the 80s synths gave more of an 80s sort of aesthetic to it, with like a lot of the pop music, rock pop music from around that time that relied on that. There's certain bands that I'm thinking of, but I don't want to sort of commit too heavily to them, because I feel as though I need to listen to more of their music to see if that's their quote-unquote their sound or not. But what I will say is that I legitimately feel as though Winchester and the Sevens and the Runners have got a great sort of tone to their guitars. The bass line was nice and peppy and funky, and there was lots of range with the rhythms that they played there. And I think while the guitar solo voicings were fantastic and were a great foil for when the vocals weren't there, it wouldn't have been the same without the bass sort of pumping in the low end there, exploring the fretboard and kind of providing a little bit of extra sort of support for the drums there with those sort of tom fills that we had more so in 6 and 7. But you know, even with the sort of the minimalist sort of cymbal work that we had in like 5, it was absolutely fine. There was a great sense of balance of what's appropriate on behalf of the percussionists, which I'm grateful for. And just going back to those synths there, where they were occasional, but they were so powerful and things would never be the same. There was just a little bit of extra oomph or size we needed to the mix there in order to make it more meaningful. So well done on that front. I think that, you know, anything else we had there, like the filtering of the instruments in that late half there with the parallel minor chord progressions and such, wonderful there. We never went into sort of weird chromatics or anything like that. We stuck to the sort of typical sort of major minor key shapes and scales and stuff like that, with the occasional extra bar put in there just for a little bit of spice in the structuring of it. Most of the tracks had like a verse chorus structure with instrumental parts. Most of the tracks were fit well within that 2 to 4 minute mark, with things never be the same, justifying its existence with the extra part at the end. Just that little sort of bonus part before the bonus track number 8, Bizarre Love Triangle. So if you've watched these 2 videos, and maybe worth separately looking at the rest of the album in your own time and going through it chronologically so you can get all of it, you know, like, you know, just have fun with that. But yeah, the studio recording, mixing and mastering as a final note was splendid. I had a great time listening to them. They absolutely smashed it out of the park with that stuff. I think that the vocal recording was fantastic and really appropriate for the era that they were going for with this music. In regards to the style of it, there was an interesting interesting effects change on them. I wasn't always happy with the amount of reverb or like the amount of modulation on the vocals, just from a clarity of word understanding perspective, but nonetheless I think that it was still appropriate for the style of music they were doing, so that was absolutely fine. There was nice filtering and cueing of the vocals as well, giving great resonance in the mix on top of the guitars, the bass, drums, and the occasional synth melodies. So they're fun. You know, nothing but love for that. I mean, like, again, the guitars are notched well on the sides, not only with the cueing and filtering, but also with the panning of it in the stereo field. Nice double tracking those guitars on top of the bass, and the drums, which are not sort of knitted neatly together without too much side chaining. You still had a punch with the drums and those kicks, especially. The tom fills coming in occasionally, sort of like add a bit of sparkle to it. Yeah, it was beautiful, and there was a nice clarity to those cymbals as well, and then the synths as well in the center. The panning of the instruments was great. Everything had a place. Everything had somewhere to belong. There were no weird resonance frequencies in the frequency spectrum. The leveling of the instruments overall was great, and the limiting compression was nice and loud without pumping. And that, I mean, like, honestly, I'm so glad I got to hear more of this, and hopefully enjoyed it too, because that is my review of Heart of the Golden Mystics by an album by Winchester 7 and the Runners, tracks 5 to 7. If you enjoyed it, please do go check out their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either hell more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.